Welcome in, everyone, and thank you for listening to the 147th ever episode of the Missouri Sports Podcast, brought to you by 106 Apparel and recording from the Revel Advertising Studio in beautiful Springfield, Missouri. I'm one of your hosts, Cameron Albert, alongside my good friend and fellow Mizzou fan, Kyle DeVries. How are you doing today, Kyle?
Cameron, I'm doing really great. We were walking into the studio today, and there was a Beastie Boys concert going on outside.
Not the actual Beastie Boys, but I honestly couldn't tell the difference.
Yeah, it was good. It was really good. It was a jam. We were just like, don't know what's going on here, but hope they're done by the time we have to record.
Yeah. So we had to delay recording just a little bit. No, just kidding. We sat here and talked for 2 hours before recording a podcast where we're going to sit and talk for some time.
Yes.
That's how we do it sometimes. And
we have a lot to talk about.
Yeah. Producer Cameron just like, okay, guys, can we get this show on the road? Yeah, producer Cameron's here as well.
Hello.
Good to have you with us.
Oh, always good to be here.
Also, great to have everyone with us that is just blowing up our YouTube channel lately. It's awesome. We appreciate it. Our last few videos have gotten a lot of views, a lot of comments, a lot of likes. Keep it coming. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for the commenter last week who gave me some advice about how to fix my canker sore.
True.
It worked. I'm on the mend.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Helpful, health tips are always welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't forget, though, you can support us directly on Patreon, and that can be found at patreon.com/Missouri Sports Pod. And we do have two Patreon supporters right now. So you would not be alone if you joined. We appreciate them very much. Kyle, we got some more recruiting news. The people are digging the recruiting news, so we might as well keep it up. And Coach Drinkwitz just keeps giving us new stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
So really, this podcast is brought to you by Coach Elijah Drinkwitz.
Yeah, he's churning out the content lately. Thank you very much for that. I'm pretty sure this time last year we were like, oh, man, middle of COVID.
Yeah.
No recruiting going on. Football got delayed. I don't even know if we knew there was going to be a season at this point.
Right.
Last year, we were like, we got to realign the conferences or something. Like, I don't know what we were going to talk about. But this year, night and day difference. Thank you, Coach.
Lots to talk about. Before we get into the big names of the recruiting scene, let's talk a little bit of basketball. There's some news, some scheduling news. The Big 12 SEC Challenge was announced. Mizzou is playing at Iowa State on January 29th. Of course, we just can't play new teams. We have to play Iowa State again, who we've played twice since leaving the Big 12.
Well, that was my immediate thought also, but who else is there to play at this point? Kansas,
I can think of one team.
We're playing them already.
Yeah.
We just played Oklahoma. Have we played?
We've played Kansas State. We've played Oklahoma State in football, Texas in football.
Texas, yeah, that would have been an interesting one. But yeah, I mean, Iowa State was pretty terrible last year. They're probably not going to be great this year, but it's on the road. So
are we playing Kansas this year anyway?
Yeah, at Kansas. It was supposed to be a neutral court last year,
right? And
they canceled it. Well, Bill self canceled it. I don't understand that.
Well, he was scared, obviously.
Obviously, that's the only thing that is reasonable.
He had to, reload and wait for Mizzou to be rebuilding a little bit before he could face us.
And then when they could get us at home.
Of course.
Anyways, what was I saying?
Iowa State?
Oh, Iowa State. Yeah, they're probably not going to be very good, but it's going to be on the road, and they're really, really good at home. So I remember we played there a few years ago, and it was awful.
Right. Like most turnovers in a game in Mizzou history or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
So we have that to look forward to.
This non-conference schedule going to be a little salty.
Yeah. I don't see a lot of wins.
Probably not.
Yeah. But we'll
get to that.
Yeah, we got a lot of time. The team's got to gel. That's what the non-conference season is for.
They're not even done. They're still building the roster for this very season.
True, that is true. Sticking with basketball, Mizzou has had some high priority recruiting targets on campus lately. Talking to the coaching staff, getting their picture taken, and the latest was one Aidan Shaw from the Kansas City area, the Kansas side. He's ranked depending on who you talk to, anywhere from 80th to 45th in the country for his class. He is a 6'8", 190 forward, and he is incredibly talented, scoring machine, very athletic, just your typical top 100, top 50-ish four-star player.
Sounds appealing.
Yeah.
Pretty much every Mizzou news outlet, including myself, labeled him as the most important recruit in this class, which he is. I mean, as far as a guy who would be an instant impact guy and is a realistic target, you got to put all your chips in the middle for a guy like this. And honestly, I feel better about Aidan Shaw than I have about really any big recruit we've been chasing the last several years. I really think
better than E.J. Liddell.
Yes,
Oh.
I really think that Mizzou has a good shot of landing Aidan Shaw. But obviously, I mean, he immediately took a visit to Kansas right after his Missouri visit, and he's from Kansas. So, I mean, it's gonna be tough. But I really think Missouri's got a really good connection with him and his family.
So I don't want to be too. This is going to come across very negative, but is Mizzou counting on a program like Kansas maybe taking a 5-star wing, and then Mizzou can scoop up the 4-star wing that's 50 points lower in the rankings afterwards?
Yeah, I think that's certainly a possibility.
So what I'm saying is we should be okay with Mark Mitchell going to Kansas.
Well, maybe I said yes too soon, but I mean, in this scenario, if that means Aidan Shaw can't go to Kansas because his spot got recruited over and he's going to go to Mizzou, then I guess we want that to happen.
Yeah, Kansas will probably take both of them.
Mark Mitchell's probably going to go to UCLA anyway, but we'll see.
Okay. Kansas doesn't seem to just like Kentucky. We're getting off on a tangent here, but Kentucky, they'll recruit like 6 guys at the same ranking at the same position.
Yeah, I don't really.
And just be like, we'll see what happens.
Well, I mean,
Kansas doesn't seem to do that quite as much.
No.
And they have, Kansas is kind of interesting because they are a blue blood program, but they have a very significantly different recruiting style than North Carolina, Kentucky, Duke, UCLA even. It seems like those other programs are just like, we'll take all the players at every position, and we don't care. We'll figure the rest out.
Yeah, Kentucky especially. I feel like they just recruit like 8 guys with enormous wingspan, and then they just figure out like, well, we'll get a shooter somewhere.
Yeah. We'll get the best shooter in the country will transfer here probably.
Yeah.
Anyway, Aidan Shaw, pay attention to him.
Yes.
Would be a huge get for Mizzou basketball. There are a couple offers that have been sent out recently. Connor Turnbull, 6'10", forward center from O'Fallon, Missouri. That's a name to keep an eye on. He also has offers from Butler and Kansas State, as well as Indiana State and St. Louis.
Yeah, right now Missouri has only one scholarship open as it stands right now. I'm sure that number will change over time, but so you kind of have to be selective with who you're going to pursue here, and if they really feel like they've got a good shot with Aidan Shaw, there's not a whole lot else out there that you're looking for. However, Connor Turnbull is a lower rated player that I would be completely okay with him if he wanted to sign up today. I would be thrilled with that because I think he's flying under the radar right now, and I don't know why that is, if it's COVID or whatever. I just think he's so much better than what his ranking suggests at the moment and what his offers are. And he's a 6'10" guy who averaged 15 points per game as a junior and shot almost 35% from 3. And his shot looks super pure. I mean, it's not just some gimmicky thing. It just happens to be going in because nobody's guarding him. Like, I really think he's an excellent shooter for his size. He's very mobile, good passer. I would be thrilled if he wanted to commit today.
So he's basically Chet Holmgren is what you're saying?
Yeah. He's better than Chet Holmgren.
It's under the radar Chet Holmgren.
But I do think that I think he likes the Mizzou offer. I think that's one that definitely made an impact on him, and I think Missouri is probably in the lead in that recruitment. But we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, the Butler offer stands out to me as like, I don't know. I like being in that company. I think for this kind of under the radar recruit, that I think Butler has shown over the years with several different coaches that they know how to take that type of player.
They've got a system.
Yes, exactly. And so if they're eyeing a guy that's from Missouri, then I think Mizzou should definitely be jumping at the same type of player. Another player that received an offer this week was Kellen Thames, son of Mizzou legend, basically. Kelly Thames, 90s player, was a very good forward, 1,000-point scorer, top 10 all-time Mizzou history. And his son now has a Mizzou offer. Another very under-the-radar recruit.
Yeah, even more so, I would say, than Turnbull. I don't even know if he has a recruiting profile on some of the major services, but he does have an offer from Georgetown and St. Louis. But he's a 6'5", so he's not small. 6'5", 2022 combo guard at Pattonville High School, and his dad's the coach. Averaged almost 20 points per game this past season, but shot about 30% from three with not very high volume. So most of the time he was scoring on 2-point shots on the inside, but he's pretty athletic. He's had some nice highlights of dunks and stuff like that. So he's a good athlete. But yeah, this is a little bit interesting. I don't think that they would offer the son of a Mizzou legend just to tell him no if he wanted to commit right now.
Right.
So I feel like if he wanted to commit, they would take him. Man, it's hard to know where I stand with that because of the pedigree and what that family means to Mizzou. But I don't know. I don't know if he might be a little bit more of kind of a guy that you get on board and is a project and you hope he's kind of a late bloomer a little bit, or maybe just hope that he really shoots lights out when he gets on campus. But I don't know. Don't know what Cuonzo's plan is there. If they had more scholarships to spare, I think I would be totally excited about getting him on board. But with one to spare, but you never know what can happen with the numbers.
True. Yeah. Scholarship numbers rarely stay the same from one off season to the next.
Yeah.
Well, that's all for basketball, but I think Cuonzo Martin should talk to Coach Drinkwitz about, maybe getting a little bit of help recruiting potentially, because Coach Drink is knocking it out of the park, and I don't know if it's just because COVID stuff was lifted, recruiting is back in full force, but that's got to be the reason, because I've never seen what's happening right now. We're just every week there's 4-star guys. I mean, maybe I've already said this on the podcast like the last couple of weeks, but I've never seen it like this, where every week there's new 4-star players that I haven't even heard of taking visits to Mizzou and taking pictures in the jerseys and talking to the coaches. And is this a Coach Drinkwitz thing, or is this a recruiting is back, folks, after COVID thing?
I think it's definitely both. This is usually the time of year where guys are taking visits, guys are committing, that kind of thing. I typically think of June and July as heavy recruiting months, but yeah, I definitely think the floodgates just kind of opened at the beginning of this month. And
not getting it last year, it's just like this new thing again where I'm like just getting bombarded with it.
Right. Now, if you want to talk about the quality of recruit, however, I think that's where Drinkwitz comes in. And obviously, I also just think the quantity too. I mean, he's just busting his butt, man. Yeah. Like, he's working so hard to get the guys he wants in here. And I mean, a good example, you mentioned a 4-star player you probably had never heard of before this week. A great example of that is a running back target that's going to be on campus this weekend for an official visit. His name is Tavoris Jones. He's from El Paso, Texas. He's 5'11", 205 pounds. He's a 4-star player. And it kind of seems like the two running back targets that we were going after, both C.J. Stokes and Joseph Hyman, have maybe kind of moved on to other things. C.J. Stokes committed to Michigan this past week, and then Joseph Hyman, it sounds like he maybe has taken a liking to Northwestern, maybe Vanderbilt, but it doesn't sound like Missouri is going to be as involved in his recruitment going forward. So Coach Drinkwitz just says, oh, okay, we'll just get this 4-star player from Texas to show up for an official visit this weekend within a week of finding out maybe about some of these other things. So crazy.
Yeah. So there's a big name, a big fish, you could say, in the 2022 class that made a bit of a splash on Twitter by just posting 2 emojis and a location. He put a pin drop in Columbia, Missouri with a little tiger head emoji, and that is the number 1 player in the state of Missouri, top 20 nationally, number 2 wide receiver in the country for his class, St. Mary's wide receiver, St. Louis, Missouri, Kevin Coleman.
Yeah, talk about a whirlwind of a recruitment too. I mean, releasing a top 15 a few months ago, Missouri's not on there. But as time has gone on, we've seen a couple of little breadcrumbs here and there. Like he posted some pictures on a unofficial visit maybe a month ago in Mizzou uniform, and that kind of raised some eyebrows. There's been news of other St. Louis players that may be interested in going to Mizzou. Luther Burden is one of those. Mookie Cooper, Don McLovett, 2 current players on the roster that seem to have a lot of pull with some of these recruits right now. There just is a lot of hype in that direction right now. And I think
Coach Drinkwitz doesn't give up, apparently.
No, he
doesn't care.
No, he does not take no for an answer.
Yeah. Which
is an incredibly difficult trait to have. That is not a trait I have. You tell me no, I'm like, okay, fine.
Forget
it. Yeah, we're moving on. But Drinkwitz, a good thing I'm not recruiting.
Right.
So he's kind of unbelievable.
Yeah. And it's kind of scary. In some ways, it's a little bit scary because I have seen Mizzou coaches in what I would call waste their time with players that do not seem interested in coming to Mizzou. And Kevin Coleman is a player that specifically said months ago that he was not real interested in staying home. He felt like what he needed out of his next step was not near home.
Yeah.
And you don't get much clearer than that as far as like a player's intentions.
Yeah.
And we haven't even talked about it much on this podcast because it just has not seemed very likely. Now, we need to throw the appropriate caveats in here that he was on campus for a 7-on-7 camp type event, and it seems like some of his friends were there, so it's not necessarily, it's not like Mizzou is a front runner for his recruitment all of a sudden. I think that just the fact that he's open to Mizzou, it seems like, the fact that he's been around campus, giving the coaching staff the time of day at least, that's good news in and of itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you think about who's on campus for the 7-on-7 event today. Kevin Coleman, number 2 wide receiver in the class of 22. Guess who's number 1? Luther Burden. Yeah, he's here on campus too. And then, I don't want to make Ahmad Robinson seem like he's just a pawn to get these other players, but because he's a great player in itself, but he's a cornerback from East St. Louis. He was also on campus today, but because every time we bring him up, you have to talk about who he's close with, and that's these other great players in St. Louis. And I really feel like Ahmad Robinson, who got a offer from Missouri last week or whenever that was, within the last week or two, I really think that he will commit to Missouri. I don't know when it's going to be, but I think that means Luther Burden is potentially on board. If Luther Burden's on board, I think Kevin Coleman is potentially on board. It's just a domino effect where these guys are influenced by their friends. They're influenced by the current players. Tyler Macon, Dominic Lovett, Mookie Cooper, these guys are in their ear constantly, especially guys who are in the program already. They're saying like, hey, I'm here right now. It's great.
Yeah.
We're not BSing you, man. We're literally here and we're loving it. And I think that goes a long way.
And I don't know, it's just so cool to see players at the same position just being okay with potentially just teaming up to have, one of the most, this would be like the fact that we're even talking about this as a possibility, and we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, but this may be the only time that we're able to talk about this because the door may shut on all of this stuff soon.
Yeah.
We hope not, but it's possible. So while the possibility still exists, forgive us for, speculating on what could be. But Luther Burden being the number 1 player, or number 1 wide receiver in the country, Kevin Coleman's number 2, 24/7 Sports national recruiting analyst Alan Trieu has him projected as a NFL first-round draft pick, and he compares him to Emmanuel Sanders.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. That's not bad.
Yeah, I mean, he's an unbelievable talent. He's like a Tyreek Hill running around out there almost. And, I don't know that he has quite that top end speed, but the shiftiness, the hands, the spin move. I mean, you get the ball in his hands, he just makes things happen on the field.
Same guy for 24/7 Sports has Luther Burden as a projected first-round NFL draft pick and compares him to A.J. Brown.
I was gonna say Luther Burden may be what I think of as more of the prototypical NFL wide receiver, but there is absolutely a place for just unrelenting speed and athleticism, especially in the college game. Man, you get a guy, a superior athlete in space. Think of I don't know, like a DeAnthony Thomas or something like that. Like that guy,
Jeremy Maclin, maybe.
Yeah, that guy. Some of those guys didn't have outstanding NFL careers, but in college,
Thomas is a great example
unstoppable.
of that. Yeah.
And I don't know if Kevin Coleman quite has that athleticism, but the point remains that just speed kills, and I just would love to see him out there with some of the other talents that we already have.
Yeah, and I mean, we talked about just if Luther Burden, signed up to play for Missouri, how we're talking about potentially one of the best receiving corps Missouri's ever seen. And if you added both of these guys, then
number 1 and 2 wide receivers in the country.
Like, that's rivaling. I would put that up against anything any team has ever done at one position.
Talk about that's the first time we've ever made Nick Saban jealous, probably.
Seriously. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, none of that has happened yet,
yeah.
But, man, the fact that it's a possibility has me excited.
Yeah. Well, you know what?
And we need to take our time with both of these guys because there's still a long way to go in both of their recruitments. But, yeah, Kevin Coleman is a fantastic player. I mean, cross your fingers. Maybe next time he posts something publicly, Missouri is included on a list of schools. That would be a dream come true at this point in his recruitment. If he decides to seriously consider Missouri after basically writing him off earlier, then I don't know what you can ask for more than that. I mean, you can ask for a commitment, but
yeah, I mean, okay, I'm going to go on like a little bit of a rant here, but a very biased rant, but I mean, why not Missouri? Why not stay home? I mean, you think about the facilities that Missouri has. Is it the top-notch facility in planet Earth? Probably not. But when you really think about colleges as a whole, it's pretty close.
Yeah.
It's pretty damn close.
They're improving every day.
It's still amazing, and they're yet to be even more improved. And you think about visibility. Missouri plays on national television pretty much every time they play. If you want to go to the NFL, if that's what your goal is, people will find you. You're going to be on TV every single time you put on the uniform. We're in the best conference in football. There's really no reason to put Missouri so much lower than some of these other programs in your mind. I mean, maybe they don't have the traditional success in the past that an Ohio State has had or something like that. But you know what the difference between one of the big differences between Missouri and Ohio State right now is it's going to be harder to get on the field for Ohio State. Why not stay home? Why not bring some of that same talent that's going to go to some of these other schools with you to Missouri and compete for an SEC championship?
Basically light it up for 3 seasons on the field. So the office cleaners had to let us know that they were about to start cleaning. So maybe producer Cameron can close the door for us. I think he was like warning us basically that they might be making noise. Anyway.
Am I out of touch?
No.
Am I looking through my gold and black glasses here?
Maybe 10% you are. Yeah. Because I mean, we've seen with a player like Mookie Cooper deciding to come back to the state of Missouri that obviously the grass isn't always greener at these, perennial powerhouses.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, if your goal as a football player, if you are just ultra competitive and your goal at every level of play is to win the biggest game possible, then you may not want to sign up for a program that is a few steps away from being competitive at that level. But you have the possibility of being a part of the class or the group of players that changes that and makes your home state team able to compete at that level. So, and that's got to be part of the pitch for these guys is, yeah, you could potentially go to Alabama and be a part of the however many championships they already have and go to the NFL, and you're just one of lots of other players that have done the same thing. But
you could be something different though at a, you've heard it a million times. I feel like I don't want to, this is a retread at some point, but yeah, I mean, you're just another dude at Alabama, and I mean, I guess you've got a good shot at winning a national championship.
But you can actually see that like on Twitter. I know that's like not the best metric to go by, but the Mizzou fan base is desperate. Yes. They are hungry for this type of talent to stay home.
Yes, you can see that on the replies. Like anytime any player talks about maybe being on a visit or just asking for, Mizzou fans, like where you at, that kind of thing. Like Mizzou fans show up on Twitter.
And also, I got to give a shout out to a lot of Mizzou Twitter. I can't remember who it was. Fairly recently committed somewhere else. Oh, it was he went to Clemson.
Toriano Pride.
Yeah. Very happy with the replies from Mizzou fans to that announcement. Like, shout out, if any of you are listening, good job, being respectful, wishing him the best. Yeah. Thanks for considering Missouri. And because the last thing you want to do, okay, we just saw Mookie Cooper leave the state of Missouri, go to Ohio State, turn around and come back.
Don't burn bridges.
Yeah, let's
not that we're single-handedly responsible for the recruitments,
right?
But
if they have a bad taste in their mouth, if they commit to Clemson, let's say, and then Mizzou fans are just trashing them in the replies, and they're like, "Oh, geez, well, if you're just going to turn on me like that."
These are still humans, right? That, like, read your comments, and like when you're trashing them and representing Missouri, that's not a great look.
Yeah. I was going more for like we want them to maybe consider coming back, but be a good person.
Yeah,
too,
be a good
in general.
But mainly we want them to come back,
or at least consider it.
Yeah.
If we just completely trash them, they probably won't do that
for sure.
So we can put Kevin Coleman back on the radar.
Yeah, thanks. I think we can say that.
Thanks completely to Eli Drinkwitz and the coaching staff. They're getting work done, and they've got buzz around the program. It's very exciting. And every week we get a new name to talk about that, last year, 2 years ago, pretty much any other time, Missouri has been involved with this type of player once in a while, basically. Mm-hmm. And lately we've been involved in multiple, there's always, since Drinkwitz has been the head coach, there's always a player that you can look at and be like, we'd still have a shot at this guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, when you really put on that speculative cap and you think about landing Luther Burden and Kevin Coleman, and you think about Jamarian Wayne and Mecky Miller, who I think are both already tremendous talents that are underrated, that are already committed, and we're talking about almost having like too much talent for one team. It's ridiculous. Like, I don't even know where everybody's going to play. I mean, that's really getting ahead of yourself, like being concerned about like where people are going to make an impact. But that's a great problem to have. But it's just ridiculous to think. I don't think Missouri has ever been in a position like this before with this kind of talent.
I'm going to need you to fill time for just a minute, because I just thought that I want to plug these two guys into the class calculator on 24/7 Sports and just see what happens.
Okay, go right ahead.
Just for the fun of it. So let me cue something up for you. Their new turf on the football field.
Yeah. I mean, when I think about this year's wide receiver room, Kiki Chisholm.
Forget turf. You got something to say. Let's go.
Oh, wait.
I was like queuing up. You can talk about the new turf, because I wanted to get to that.
Oh, the new turf.
But talk about Kiki Chisholm.
I was thinking about what am I going to say here? Yeah. When I think about this year's room, Kiki Chisholm, he's moving on. I can't even think. We're not going to have a whole lot of turnover this season. Like, it's going to be a lot of young guys in the room next year if they were to add 3 or 4 wide receivers. I mean, it's just crazy to think about how many talented wide receivers are going to be on the field. I think Kiki Chisholm will be a pretty gaping hole that we're going to have to fill. Toski Dove will probably be a senior next year, but...
So if you add Luther Burden and Kevin Coleman to the 2022 recruiting class that already exists for Mizzou football, that makes their team score 199.49. And if you compare that to the team rankings for 2022, that would put them at 5th, which is actually kind of insane that it's that low.
Wow.
But behind only Ohio State, Notre Dame, LSU, and Georgia. So literally unheard of territory
That
for
is
Mizzou football.
definitely unheard of territory.
Like, we've never even had speculative potential recruits that would get us that high in the rankings.
Yeah. You asked me about the turf.
Yeah, they got new turf.
Looks great.
Okay.
What do you think of it?
I think some people were maybe expecting a little bit of a redesign.
Yes.
Along with the new actual material.
Yes, I was thinking that was possible,
Yeah. No such luck.
but it looks very crisp
Oh, yeah.
and clean.
And no, there was no reason to really adjust the look of the field, in my opinion.
What about the track?
The track, well, it's a hazard. We all know it. We all know it. The health and safety of our players are at stake.
What about aesthetically?
I don't really, the look of it is fine. I know people say, it looks like a high school field with the track
does.
around it. Whatever.
Okay,
I don't notice the look of it on the TV broadcast.
gotcha.
I'll say that much.
Yeah, I mean, it's not as noticeable on the TV.
Yeah. In person, though.
Truman gets to ride around on
True. They spray the kids down with water.
it. Yeah,
You got to be able to do that.
in the middle of November.
Yep. Sometimes. I had something else to say. I'm going to throw producer Cameron under the bus here a little bit. One member of this table didn't recognize the gentleman in the photo standing in front of the field. That his AstroTurf was basically advertising the fact that they redid the turf, and they had a picture in the article of a gentleman standing in front of the field. And producer Cameron wasn't exactly sure who it was, and it was one and only head coach of the Missouri Tigers, Eli Drinkwitz. And
He was wearing a hat.
true, he didn't have his glasses on.
Didn't have his glasses on.
He was wearing that pretty cool Missouri State Outline hoodie.
Is it just me or has he lost some weight?
He's looking good either way.
He looks amazing. Maybe it's just because I love him so much more, and every day he's just become more beautiful to
The
me.
more you get to know him, just the more attracted to him you are. I think that's just how that works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have anything
Yeah.
to say?
No, I don't really have anything to
Yeah,
say.
okay, that's fine.
I don't.
I don't look at pictures of these people very
No.
often, so
No, I don't.
What do you
either.
look at pictures of?
Do you look at pictures of the Nebraska head coach?
no, but I know what he looks
Yeah,
like.
I do too.
Scotty Frost.
Yeah. Anyway, do we have anything else to talk about this week?
That's pretty much it. I mean, there was a 2023 event that was on campus this week. So a lot of the big names that we've talked about recently.
You can tell the 3 people that are still listening about it if you want.
I'm trying to just wrap this up. Where it was one name I didn't mention, Jalen Marshall is going to be on an official visit this weekend. He is a defensive tackle from Overland Park. It's a big official visit weekend this weekend, so there's going to be a lot more names coming out about who's going to be on campus this weekend, but a lot of exciting stuff to keep an eye on Twitter and stuff this weekend. I'm sure we'll be retweeting that kind of stuff if you follow us on Twitter, so you'll be able to follow along a little bit.
I'm ready for some good news.
Me too.
Keep it coming.
All right, everybody, that's all we got for you. We are on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. We are on Twitter. Please follow us on Twitter at Mizzou Sports Pod, and you can email us at MissouriSportsPod@gmail.com.
Shout out to the emailer who gave us the tip on NCAA 14 video game stuff.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
You can find our t-shirts and stickers on our online shop, MissouriSportsPod.BigCartel.com.
Thank you everyone for listening. We will see you next week.